Tonight, an I-Team exclusive.
In all videos, he's inappropriately touching her.
And there's times where he's kissing her on the cheek or forehead, rubbing her where he shouldn't.
The daughter of these parents is just one of the little girls the community has come to know as the Springboro 88.
We were able to identify 88 female first grade students who had some type of physical interactions with Mr. Hopkins.
Now, as their former gym teacher faces criminal charges related to alleged sexual contact with those girls, tonight the I-Team looks at a law dozens of other states have to see if it could help prevent these types of allegations here in Ohio. Some of the Springboro 88's parents say their daughters had no idea former Clear Creek Elementary physical education teacher Austin Hopkins was sexually abusing them, as Warren County prosecutors have now alleged.
And the woman behind the national law mandating sex abuse prevention education in dozens of other state schools says that is why Erins Law must be reality here in Ohio. But the I-Team's Molly Coates discovered legal and political obstacles are in the way.
The immense trauma the families are going through, we didn't go through it. We are all still going through it.
It's a deep, raw emotional pain for these parents of a Clear Creek Elementary first grade student.
It has completely rocked our family.
This family is one of the 88 families with little girls impacted. Prosecutors say their former gym teacher, Austin Hopkins, inappropriately touched them at school. Gut-wrenching images this family has now seen on surveillance video.
Where he had called her over, and while he up to his side, and while she's there, he starts rubbing her butt and thigh, just over and over, up and down, while he nuzzles her head and his shoulder.
Despite that,
all 88 girls are victims in the sense of kind of what he's done. It's not just hugs.
As prosecutors explained at a news conference last month,
We believe there was evidence not just of inappropriate contact, but also of potential criminal conduct.
Their daughter's case is one of 60 that did not meet criminal conduct standards. Prosecutors say actual illegal sexual contact as defined under Ohio law
For the purposes of sexually arousing either or gratifying either person.
Only happened to 28 of the first graders.
If you look at what happened to our daughter, she's not one of the 28, but clearly to us, by watching the video, it's not right. There's something clearly wrong.
Did she have any idea that she was being abused?
I don't think she did.
I don't think so.
I was confused.
Erin Marin can relate. She says she was around the same age as the girls in the Hopkins case when her sexual abuse started.
So I kept it a secret.
Now she's on a mission to make sure all U.S. public schools implement what she calls a prevention-oriented child sexual abuse program.
The differences between safe and unsafe touch, safe and unsafe secrets, empowering kids if you're being abused.
Right now, that type of education is not mandatory for Ohio public school students. Instead, under state law, it's up to the local district.
News Center 7 reached out to Springboro schools multiple times requesting an on-camera interview for the story. They declined, but did provide us with a statement.
The district spokesperson saying in part, in the past, Clear Creek Elementary, which serves students preschool through first grade, has not implemented child sexual abuse education for students. Going on to say, given the age of the students preschool through first grade, the district's belief, in conjunction with Springboro Schools' Mental Health Services Department, is that this type of education is typically suited to begin at home. Marin disagrees, saying if the prosecutor's allegations hold true, Erins Law could have made a difference in the Hopkins case, where the victims were 6 and 7 years old when they were allegedly abused.
Had Erins Law existed, and these kids are being taught this in this elementary school, I guarantee you we would not be seeing the number of children that have been abused.
If she was just more educated, I think that she would have come to us and said something.
36 states have passed the legislation, but Ohio is not one of them.
It has died in committee every single year.
Marin says despite a social media campaign last year, she has not been able to figure out why Senate Education Chair Andrew Brenner did not allow for a vote.
Sadly, once again, for the 5th year, it died in Ohio.
The I-Team reached out to Senator Brenner. He says while he likely would have supported Erins Law, he did not have the votes to pass it out of his committee because a majority of members felt it took away control from local districts. If Erins Law were to pass in Ohio, it would change state policy. Right now, the Department of Education spokesperson told the I-Team state law currently mandates that local districts get to decide what health education is taught. Within that, the state only requires districts teach personal safety and assault prevention and related topics.
They need to get better wording in there.
Marin says without a key phrase, the current law has a loophole.
You need to get in the word sexual abuse prevention.
Local experts say that specific type of education is key for children.
It starts giving them permission and that empowerment to know that if something doesn't feel right in their body and they're not comfortable with something, that they can tell somebody.
Amy Fornshell is the manager of the Warren County Child Advocacy Center, whose staff assisted the girls in the Hopkins case.
Does this seem to be a top priority for lawmakers?
Absolutely. I think the sooner that we can provide this information to kids and their families and the language and prevent it, the better we'll be as a state.
But Marin says Ohio is nowhere close to moving forward with this legislation.
Ohio's one of the few states that there's 3, that do not have a legislator sponsoring this bill.
It has to be required. And then maybe one of the girls would have said something.
What do you want the message to be to state lawmakers?
What's taking so long?
For the I-Team, Molly Kowick, News Center 7.
Senator Brenner also told the I-Team lawmakers on his committee were concerned about where funding would come from for Erins Law education. Marin says funding has been available since 2015 as part of a federal law, and all local districts would have to do is ask the feds for the money. We reached back out to Senator Brenner. He said he did not know about the federal funds available. Last month, Hopkins' attorney said his client totally denied prosecutors' charges.
Live right now on our WHIO News app, we have expanded our coverage. You will see how we detail 5 Miami Valley teacher sexual misconduct cases.
6 months later,
he pulled my daughter between his legs.
The pain is still fresh.
Torture.
Tonight, our I-Team exclusive continues as more parents of the 88 little Springboro girls who prosecutors say their gym teacher had inappropriate contact with when they were first graders speak out.
No transparency, lack of communication, inconsistent.
Telling the I-Team they're angry and concerned the school districts made no policy changes following sexual abuse allegations. The criminal case against former Clear Creek Elementary gym teacher Austin Hopkins is moving forward. Warren County prosecutors say Hopkins sexually abused dozens of first-grade girls. News Center 7 broke this story back in March, and I was the first reporter to interview a victim's parents. Tonight, we continue our exclusive I-Team investigation as we speak with 5 families for the first time. They've been angry for months over how the school handled this case. Also exclusive tonight, the district spokesperson is defending its actions. 88 girls were involved. Some have left the district. Most have just started 2nd grade. It's been a gut-wrenching process for these parents who can't get the images out of their minds of their girls with Hopkins captured by classroom surveillance video.
Inappropriately touching our daughters where his hand shouldn't be.
Our daughter was sitting with him on the bleachers with his hand around her waist.
He ran his hands over my daughter's body.
And then started rubbing her bottom. But that was with his right hand. And then with his left hand, he went in between her legs.
Rubbed himself on her. And as he did that, he rubbed her belly, nuzzled her neck.
And then they went off camera together. And I'll never know what happened. Because there's no cameras in his office. And then they came back out together.
She became real fidgety. So he put her down and went on to the next.
These 6 parents say their daughter's gym teacher, Austin Hopkins, sexually abused one first-grade girl after another.
Yeah. We've been living with this for 6 months.
From the beginning, how has the school responded here?
Crickets. No response. Or very little. We've been met with resistance at every turn.
And at the turn of the school year,
my daughter didn't want to go back to school.
The now 2nd graders are anxious.
She has accidents at school. She just, she acts different with my husband.
She's just not the same little girl that she was before.
And their parents are scared.
We were dreading the day we had to send our kids back to school.
The group told the I-Team since first learning of the alleged abuse back in March,
false promises.
They have not felt supported by school district leaders they trusted.
Do you think that the school right now is trying to protect itself more than it's trying to protect your daughters?
Absolutely.
Yes.
I went to the district to share the group's complaint.
Would you say that the district has been transparent in this case?
I would say we've been absolutely transparent.
The school's communications coordinator, Scott Marshall, says these letters to parents show the district has been as supportive as it can while respecting the ongoing court case, emphasizing again when they found out about the accusations against Hopkins, he was removed from the building immediately. He later resigned.
You know, as a school district, you spend a lot of time and a lot of resources trying to prevent a threat from the outside coming in. And in this particular instance, there was a threat inside the building.
You have 88 victims, and they're saying, well, there's nothing we can do about that, so let's just brush this under the carpet and hope it goes away.
These parents feel getting rid of Hopkins was a first step, but now the school must make policy changes, and that's what Marshall says the district is doing by sending parents and students a new survey.
But it's designed so that the family can sit down together and fill it out.
Twice a year.
That if a student brings up a concern and a family member hears it, they can immediately alert the school.
A new curriculum this school year was started in grades K through 5 to educate and empower kids and adults with information and strategies to prevent and recognize all types of abuse. The group of parents wasn't aware of the new changes.
From my perspective, we haven't seen any significant change.
They wonder why no one was monitoring the surveillance video Warren County prosecutors say captured the abuse for 3 months.
We believe there was evidence not just of inappropriate contact, but also of potential criminal conduct.
Parents wish administrators watched the first-year teacher more closely.
Some supervision would be appropriate. Adhering to the policies where there are in-class visits and reviews and drop-in visits.
The I-Team obtained Hopkins performance evaluations. In them, we found no documentation of drop-in visits, although the district says they did occur.
Let's look at the hiring practices that allowed this predator to get into the school to start with.
The parents' attorney believes Hopkins' hiring violated Springborough's internal employment policy. In part, it says the superintendent should recommend the best qualified person, regardless of the relationship to present employees or members of the board. Hopkins' mother is a teacher in the district. His grandfather, a former principal.
Just because they have family in the district doesn't mean they're going to get the job. He had to interview just like anybody else in front of the exact same people. They made a decision on that based on the interview and based on their scoring system, and he got the job as a result of that.
Now, even though Hopkins is on house arrest awaiting trial, these mothers and fathers don't feel safe.
I can't point to anything the district has done to reassure us that the situation that allowed this horrible criminal activity to be conducted has been changed or addressed in any significant fashion.
It just hurts, and it's just like on a deep level, emotionally and personally, to not have that support when you are trusting your children daily in their hands.
What do you want to see the school do more of? Or do better?
Communicate, be transparent, be open, actually show that they care. You know, I mean, whether they agree or disagree with what occurred, we're all in pain, we're all hurting. And, you know, to simply care for someone can be extended, and we've not seen any of that.
We've been carrying this burden for 6 months, since the first day the detectives called and said, come watch your daughter.
The 6 parents you just heard from represent 5 girls. Prosecutors say Hopkins had physical contact with 88 girls. However, only 28 are connected to the case's 36 criminal indictments. That's because under Ohio law, the sexual contact seen on video has to show sexual arousal or gratification. The group I spoke with consisted of both parents of the 28 and those whose daughters are not tied to charges. But all parents feel no matter what the charges say, all their daughters were equally victimized. Hopkins has pleaded not guilty. Right now, on our WHIO streaming app, you can find extended interviews with the parents you just heard from and the Springboro District spokesperson. That app is available on Roku, Amazon Fire, or Apple TV devices.